So we're generating thousands of insurance leads every single month using Facebook and Google. So in this video, I'm going to show you and explain to you what platform you should use for your insurance broker, for your insurance company. Should you use Facebook? Should you use Google? I'm also going to explain to you what I believe you should do based on your situation. I'm also going to explain to you what we do in our agency for our clients, because it's a little bit different to you might think this might be. Okay, so let me jump into this. So first off, we need to start with reframing some of your limited beliefs if you have some. So if you think that insurance running ads doesn't work using Facebook or Google, if you think Google is expensive, if you think Facebook is expensive, if you think we've tried this and it doesn't work, it's a load of shit, I need to explain to you right now, this is a limited belief. There's a high chance that you just didn't have a clue what you was doing if you was trying to do this yourself, or you was paying someone and brought someone who also didn't have a clue what they was doing. Like I said, we're generating thousands of insurance leads every single month across our client portfolio, across the life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, travel insurance, commercial insurance, other B2C products, and I can assure you this 100% does work. So I think there's a high likelihood if you're either doing it and you can't seem to scale it past a certain point, you don't have a clue what you're doing, or if you've tried it in the past and it hasn't worked, you also don't have a clue what you're doing, which is absolutely fine. Hopefully in this video we can shed some light on maybe why it didn't work and also how you can make it work for you in the future. That being said, we also need to understand what our potential investment opportunities are here. If, for example, you had a goal to make yourself another 100,000 with advertisements and you invested £1,000 and thought, well, that didn't get me closer to my goal, that is the exact problem. If you can name me one other investment where you could put £1,000 in, make 100,000 back, please let me know. Drop that in the comment, because I'm 100% invested. Okay. So that being said, you need to understand, what your possible outcome here is to have. If you invest maybe 10,000 into ads, 50,000 into ads, what is likely to be your return? And realistically, we're probably aiming, it depends on the product, the premium size and stuff like that. We're seeing clients upwards of 6 return, and then some of our clients, around maybe the 2 to 3 return. It really depends on how aggressive they are within scaling, really what their goals are. Some clients would be happy to break even year 1 on the basis they can make that year 2, year 3 renewal on the back end, and some of them are wanting to be more heavy up front. It really depends on, again, the premium size, how much you're earning from a policy. That's not the point in this video, but also to understand, like, if you thought you're going to invest 500 quid, $800, £1,000, $1,000 and expect to have something like 30 grand back, 40 grand back, then also you need to try and reframe, right, what other investment opportunities do I have outside of maybe in my business or outside of my business that can bring me anywhere close to those returns that should then bring you back to reality? So Google or Facebook? So let's Facebook first. So Facebook, what is the pros to this? What is the cons to this? So the massive pros to this is the speed to result is faster. So for example, you can launch campaigns on a Monday and start to see leads and inquiries and even policy sales that week. Okay, so the speed to results is faster. Obviously, you still have your learning phase. It's not going to be 100% optimized. You're not going to have the best cost per lead in that first week. But by the time you can launch, you can start to see things actually moving. You can start to see people submitting quotations on your website, submitting callback forms. The speed to result is just faster. Usually when you launch a campaign, you are looking for ads to be enabled within 48 hours to 3 days. You do also have shorter learning phases. Okay, so there's not these drawn out periods of having to just wait for the campaigns to be more optimized. It is a shorter window within the Facebook platform. Now, to be totally honest, Facebook does also, because the costing is usually slightly less, it is easier to run multiple tests. So you can have multiple different ideas, multiple different angles, multiple different audiences that you can go after, and you can do that just in a easier format. It doesn't require you to have such complex campaign structures to be able to do that. Now, to be totally honest, we've seen Facebook work across small and big niches. So maybe more of your broader style campaigns where your messaging is broader, but also within those small pocket audiences and maybe products that aren't mainstream. We've seen that work really well within Facebook. So if you've got a small product that is a bit more complex to understand and just a smaller market size, it works really well, but also works really well for those big niches and those big market size audiences. So we see Facebook work really well for a combination of the both. Facebook is easier to translate your offers as well, because you can do that within the images, you can do that within the content up front, you can do videos up front, and it is easier to be able to translate what you're actually trying to achieve, what the point in the product is. And it is really easy to be able to, if you've got something like some other clients would maybe do like some form of discount, or let's just say you've got an offer up front, or let's just say you do like a beat any price or something like that where you're wanting to be more aggressive. It is easy to be able to frame those offers in something like Facebook. We do usually see a lower cost per lead on Facebook as well. So this is over a larger sample size. We have clients where, for example, Google is significantly lower cost per lead versus Facebook, and we have clients where Facebook is consistently a lower cost per lead over Google. But I would say over a larger sample size, over more clients we work with, and the more products that we in the niches that we end up in, we do usually see, say, 8 out of 10 times a lower cost per lead on Facebook. Not significantly, but still lower. Okay, and Facebook is really good at being able to explain products easier as well. So explaining, let's just say you've got some new rent guarantee, or you've got some new way that you're wanting people to do insurance, or maybe it's some InsurTech where you're approaching things slightly different. It is easier to be able to translate that easier within Facebook. So if you've got something that people, a different way of buying than traditional people would get insurance, then Facebook does seem to be a better platform for that. Now, what are the cons to this platform? Well, there are usually lower intent within the early stages of when you're launching these. So people are just not as far down the buying cycle as maybe you'd expect them to be. So you're usually having to have better nurturing systems in place. By the way, we do this for clients where we can help them. We can actually use that Facebook audience. We know that they're lower intent, but we can actually, through the sales cycle, through the conversion cycle, and through the when they engage with our business to the point they have a sales call with us, for example, we can inject stuff into them to make them further align. But traditionally, when they first see the business as from like cold audience perspectives, when they first engage with the business, they are usually less down that sales cycle. Also, we do find because of that you have longer sales cycles, so there's more potential, more calls with that individual, they needing a little bit more to be able to get over the line. They're still usually within that, well, they are always within that renewal period, so they're still they're close to it, but they're just in the early stages versus really ready to buy. And again, there's things that you can do with that, but Facebook, you just have to understand if that's the audience you're pushing, you have to understand maybe what you need to add into that sales cycle to get them further down the line. And really, you're wanting people who want, just quicker outcomes as well. So, it tends to be the cons to this is that because it's faster, it requires more variations and optimizations. So it's one of those platforms that you do have to stay on top of quite a lot. You have to be launching new angles, new creative swings. You have to be doing things quite actively within inside of that account because it's faster moving and you can have faster results. You tend to see less consistency over time. So moving on to Google, the pros to this platform is it is way more stable and consistent. So it does have longer learning periods, but because of that, you do tend to have something that's a little bit more reliable. Our clients really do love when we have a consistent Google campaign up and running because it provides them some consistency, it provides stable results, and it's just easier to forecast, right? You can understand, right, next month, if we spend this amount, we are likely to receive this amount of leads back. Facebook can provide that, but it can have those ebbs and flows and up and down periods where Google, we just find over a larger sample size, we've been running this for maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, we do find that Google just does provide a bit more consistency through that. Because of that, you do end up having just individuals further in the sales cycle because of how the platform works. It's across the the Google network, it's across search, it's across the entire YouTube platform as well. And it's just a case of most of the clients would want to push into search, even though that's not the whole campaign structure of maybe how we would do it, but search is still very important. And because of that, you are finding people that are usually a bit more aware of the product they want and, a bit further down that sales cycle. Not always, it's not day and night difference between these platforms, but you do find that people on Google who are looking for the insurance product, obviously if they're looking for it, they're probably closer to be able to buy it as well. One of the pros to this platform is it is less maintenance. So there's less having to update things regularly. Obviously you always have to do your optimizations, you have to go through the stuff, but it's one of those platforms that, for example, Facebook can just, for no reason of its own, just really tank and start to drop, and you have to be quite reactive for that. But Google, what we find is you do have to just do less of the having to update things drastically. Because of that as well, because of all these, mainly within the intent cycles, we do find, again, over a larger sample size, to have a higher direct return on investment. So we do usually see a higher return, people paying higher premiums through Google. Again, 8 out of 10 times, not 100% of the time, but if we do a larger sample size, you do find that you would normally have a higher return from something like Google. Cons to this platform is it does have longer learning cycles. You do have to be willing to put some cash up front initially, and you do have to be willing to sit on that and not be emotional and just start changing things. What we usually find, and if we would audit accounts and stuff like that, we would usually find that somebody would probably launch a campaign within about 2 weeks, doesn't see much results, then go in there and change a load of stuff. But actually it's quite normal for a Google campaign to take 2-3 weeks for it to really start building its legs and start to build up that snowball effect rolling down a hill as such. With this platform as well, it is harder to translate offers up front because, again, you're using headlines, you're using descriptions. There's no sort of visual contact unless it's stuff that you're doing across YouTube. But with insurance, we are seeing most of the volume come through search, and it is harder to be able to translate offers within, maybe a 30 character limit headline, for example. So it is better for products that are already well known and people understand versus new products and new ways of doing insurance that people maybe don't understand, because it is harder to translate offers. And as a result of that, it's much harder for those super niche audiences. Again, an amazing platform for broader stuff, which a lot of people think, well, we don't want to compete against the big boys. That's not how the platforms work. Again, if you think that it's expensive because there's other people spending a lot of money, that's not how the auction and the bids section of the actual platform works. And actually, we would say it rewards low spenders extremely well. When I mean low spenders, people who just have less budget versus significant brands. Obviously, if you've got $20 a day, then Google's not going to be your platform, right? And because I think of the intent, and obviously that it is an auction-based system and there is just less of an audience to reach on a daily basis versus something like Facebook, then it does have a higher cost per lead. Again, this is over a larger sample size, 8 out of 10. There are many situations that I can think of where we have a lower cost per lead versus some of the stuff we're doing on Facebook. But if we had to take, 100 individual campaigns that we've ran across the two, for example, I would go to say that Google would have a higher cost per lead 70% of the time, for example. So what should you do in your situation? So this is really what I would suggest based on where you are right now. So I think you should use Facebook if you do have lower budgets. Okay, so if you are looking to spend and not invest as much, if you're wanting to just test a few things out, you're wanting to test your sales cycle on cold traffic, you're wanting to understand maybe the changes that you would need to make within your sales process, if you've got a few different ways that you want to try and present this to the market but you're unsure on the best way to do it, I think Facebook is going to be your best way to do that. If you're wanting more of a instant gratification, you need in volume to test quickly, then I think Facebook would be a good starting point. If you're selling in a space that's completely new, so nobody really understands the product, it's a new way of buying insurance, or it's just a very small compact niche, I think Facebook still would be your best option for that. I think Facebook is a great option if you don't have much track record in sales. So if you don't have many reviews, you don't have much of an established brand, and you're just wanting to try and push yourself out there for the first time, I think Facebook's going to be really good for that. And I think Facebook would be or Facebook is really the only platform you should use if you have a really good eye for creative design, you understand how people convert, and you're really good at making videos. If, for example, you can't create creatives, you don't have anyone that can do that, if you can't design good landing pages that convert, if you don't know how to make videos, then Facebook's not going to be a good platform for you, because that's what drives the conversion on the first click. And then Facebook is a great platform for you if you have a strong offer that people want. So if you already have a proven offer that does work and you're wanting to scale it up and you already have consistency. So this also, I don't think Facebook would be just for smaller businesses. I actually think if you're established, you've got a track record, and you've got things that clearly people want, and you're wanting to just put fuel on the fire very quickly, I think Facebook is an amazing platform for that as well. Now, I think you should use Google on the basis that if you're scaling for the long run, so you've got cash reserves, if you are looking to build something that has just more a stronger foundation to it, maybe if you're buying leads right now in an established product, and if you're buying leads within an established niche, then I think Google would be an amazing platform for that, because you can effectively, you've already got proven systems, you've already got stuff that works, and you just again needing to put fuel on that fire, but you're not needing to have instant response. I think Google's an amazing platform for that. If you've got a proven record, so if you already understand the sales cycle, you already have, clear outcomes as far as this is our conversion rate, this is how many, if we speak to this many leads, this is how many we're likely to convert, I think Google would be an amazing platform for you in that instance. Google would be great if you are selling in a more broad dominant market. So if you're not in a super niche, nobody really knows about it, if you've got something that has high search volume, high intent, people want to buy it, there's a need to buying it as well, so some form of like business insurance, liability, life insurance, some car insurance, van, something like that, some sort of business insurance, or something that just has like a high demand, Google's going to be an amazing platform for you on that. And Google would be a great platform if you're wanting consistency and scale as well. So if you're wanting something that you can rely on, something that can be here 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line, and doesn't require you to reinvent the wheel every so often, then I think Google would be an amazing platform for you on that. Now, what do we do? Because it's really good, you can only do Facebook, you should only do Google, and you deciding on what platform should be the best. Well, the reason why we have such a good contrast on knowing what would be the best in what situation, and the reason we're able to see maybe what has a higher return, what has a lowest cost per lead, and being able to test these multiple variations, is because what we would tend to do is use both platforms together. The reason for this is both of them complement the downsides very well. So the downsides of Google, Facebook complements perfectly, and the downsides to Facebook, Google complements perfectly. So what we're able to do for our clients is build a system that has good, quick speed to lead, but also has a combination of volume and high intent. So we've been able to get up and running quick. We've been able to still build those solid foundations and build something long lasting, and be able to inject to the client a combination of high volume and high intent. Because if you're only looking for those 10 out of 10 prospects, you are limiting yourself on the scalability of how far you can take stuff, because naturally there's a lower volume of those. So you still want stuff that is maybe early in the conversion cycle, because you can build that up and you can sell to them a week or so later, but then you can also have a combination of those people that have high intent that are ready to buy now. So you can still inject the cash up front, but you're also still building that long-term scale. The reason we do this as well, because we can use the remarketing audiences from both. So this allows us to have like a cross-channel marketing approach. So we can target the same individual across Meta, so Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, cross-network. So the cross-network is the applications that are built with inside of Google's display network. So it's like 50 million applications, websites that is linked to. So we've been able to have like a congruent message, so people see you across multiple different platforms. This way you have a higher conversion rate. People are more interested by the time they actually start to speak to you, because they feel that they're seeing you everywhere. And what we're able to do by having this in place is just build a long-term, consistent and scalable message. And we're able to, by using both platforms, have a testing cycle of new creative swings, longer term reach, and how we can reach people that are further out in the buying cycle, but then also when they start to get closer to being interested in what we have, we can be front and center for them. So what we would always do is use both platforms, because they feed into each other well. And this is the same way, and this is exactly why we're able to, make our clients hundreds of thousands a month and generate thousands of insurance leads every single month by using a combination of these platforms. So that is exactly that. Which should you use? What's the best? What's probably going to be best in your situation? And how we actually would approach this. If you are interested in us working for you, the business is called Grow My Insurance, then you can click the first link below. Connect to me on LinkedIn, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. And thanks again for watching the video.